Good morning. It's Wednesday at about a little before 8 o'clock in the morning. The bike was left on the lift last night for an overnight leak test after yesterday's quite successful test ride, and it came up clean. So either sealing those wires solved the problem, or we inadvertently solved the problem by taking the covers off of the tranny and the primer. In either case, we've got no drip at this point in time. I'm going to put the bike aside. I'm going to ride it to lunch tomorrow. If it's not picked up, I'm going to ride it to lunch tomorrow and back home. That'll give us a good road test and a good leak test. So I'm going to do that. In the meantime, I'm going to put the green goddess up here and start the head removal. Kevin's going to be here roughly sometime after 8 o'clock, and we will lift the lid off this thing, and that'll let us know if we need to order parts. I do have the new brakes for the 441, so it's a toss-up. Should I do the 441? Should I do the goddess? Well, I've decided to do the goddess because we may have to order parts. While I have the parts for this, so this should be an up and down. So we're going to put the goddess on the lift and see how that goes. I do have the speedometer for this guy. It came in. It has an interesting installation process, procedure, diagram, electrical connections. It's scary. And then it has a calibration sequence you wouldn't freaking believe. So I'm deferring him until I get the other two bikes done, and then I can spend a whole day simply installing a speedometer. It's just strange. Anyway, that's where we are. A beautiful day in Phoenix, and I'm getting ready to do some, matter of fact, I think I'll go have a cup of coffee before Kevin gets here, and then we'll come out here and start working on the goddess. Okay, it's about 8:20, and we've yanked the seat off. We're taking the tank off now, and we're going to lift the head off this engine and see what we see. Ought to be interesting. All right, well, it's a few minutes before 9 o'clock. We've made a lot of progress. Tank is off, exhaust is off, coils are off, oil lines disconnected, carburetor's off. We're getting ready to unbolt the head. Now, it goes quick when you have two people working and all the parts are clean. I mean, it's amazing how much faster taking a clean bike apart is versus rusty, crusty, nasty oxide nuts and bolts. So over here we have the tank on the shelf right there, seat above it, and over here, hanging from the rafters, is the exhaust system. So progress is being made. We're going to lift this head off in just a couple minutes. Okay, take two. You will not see. Take one. Interestingly, these head bolts are not Whitworth. They're not standard. The best thing that fits them is what, 14 millimeter?
14 millimeter.
That's strange by itself. Then I was showing Kevin that this is a special wrench, and its only job in life is to undo the nut that's up under here. And I reached under here and I said, the nut under here. Can you see the nut under here? And Kevin looked down there and said, there is no nut under there. So I got in here and I looked, and there ain't no nut under there. That is what you say, your not nut under there. Okay, so that's interesting. So it's going to be fun taking this head off and finding out why that nut is not under there. These are the outies, they're easy. Then we have these two in the front that are very small diameter. You have to be really careful when you put them on. And then there's a third one right here in the center that we're going to take out of there. And I can see nuts down there, so that's good. All right, so far just strange head bolts and a missing nut. These are nice base nuts though. Those are 12-point base nuts. So those aren't stock either. Okay, that's where we are. All the various and sundry nuts and bolts are loose. You can actually see a gap here where the head has risen up just by the function of the valve springs pushing up on it. So I'm going to go over there and I'm going to lift this off. You have to sort of lift it off, tilt it forward or back, put your fingers in there and capture the push rods and take them all out at the same time. It's just so much fun. All right, take that, Joel. Okay, you're on. All right. Come on, you can come off, you can come off, you can come off. Oh, this stud's still here. Look, the stud is loose. Let's get that out of here. All right, the other stud is sticking up there. Let's see if that makes any difference. Oh, okay. There's probably a really tricky way of doing this. I don't know it. I'm getting ready to put the sky hook on the head, just so I can lift these things up all at the same time.
And we'll be back.
They say experience is a big helper. I can't tell you how many heads I've taken off of Nortons, and it never gets easier. I guarantee there's a trick to holding those push rods out of the way, and I can't remember. I should document this better. I'm wondering if I should take the front rockers off, but I don't see any reason because they're out of play at this point in time with the head up. At this point, I decided to just go ahead and put the sky hook on to lift the head so that we can work underneath of it and try to get those push rods out of the way so we can lift the head off. Which brings up the question, I'll bet you wonder, gee, why did you make those hooks there, Frank, that fit so nicely on that Norton head? Been there, done this. So let's see what happens when we have the head being supported by the sky hook while we try to work it off of the cylinders. Here we go. Okay, the head is actually free. We're getting ready to lift it out, putting it on the sky hook was a big help, took the pressure off. Then Kevin stood on the far side and tilted the head back. I sat on this side, kneeled on this side, and massaged the push rods up out of the cylinder, and eventually got them to the point where, if you'll go ahead, Kevin, let's move the head towards you, and let's see if that last one will just come out of there. And there, it's out. And there goes the head gasket. And at this point in time, the head is free. We can lower the sky hook and lift it out of there.
Yeah, just unhook it.
You undone over there?
Yeah, it came off over there.
Okay, you ready to go to the bench?
Yep.
Watch the hooks.
Yep.
This one over here will get in your way. It's going to hit the frame.
Okay, you want to go ahead and undo it?
Yeah, let me undo that. Okay, you got the head?
Uh-huh.
All right. This is where we find out that there's absolutely nothing wrong with this head. And we go into the timing case. Okay, you have the head.
I do.
Watch out for your arm. Yep, there you go. All right, coming over. Let's take these push rods, a stud that fell out, copper washer that we can reuse. Boy, that looks terrible. That's just a nasty, I don't think I've seen as nasty a head gasket as that in a long time. I mean, we'll clean it up and re-anneal it, but that really is dirty. Huh. Okay. Nothing at this point. Okay, what we're going to do now is what are we going to do now? I'm going to take the head apart. Well, see, I can take the valves out right now, okay? Or I can go over here and lift this jug off. And we're going to lift the jug off. Sooner or later, eventually, it don't matter. So we're going to loosen these base nuts and lift this jug off so we can take a look at the pistons. All right, then we'll start taking things apart and examining them. Okay, Kevin has all these pretty 12-point nuts off the bottom of the studs. And we have to lift the cylinder up a little bit in order to clear them.
Yep.
So we're going to do that now. There are markings here that say 006 or 005. I'm going to say that's 005. So that's undoubtedly the piston clearance when they fitted the pistons, which is perfectly good inside specs. All right, so we're getting ready to lift this off. Okay, we lifted the cylinder. You can use rubber jake to hit the cylinder to break it free. And so we used rubber jake to hit it up like this on both sides and break it free. Now we lifted it up about 1/4 of an inch. That gave us the clearance necessary to take those nice 12-point nuts off the bottom. Now the nuts had washers under them, and I'm not sure they're supposed to. So we're going to check the parts book. And I think they should go back together without washers. Okay, we're getting ready to... Actually, why don't I just let this run? You want to lift it off?
Yeah. I'll try.
You got it?
Yeah, we just gotta wiggle a bit.
I don't like having to wiggle.
I don't blame you. And especially since I'm doing the wiggling and lifting it. Things heavy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at these rings while we're here. The top ring over here looks like might be frozen in there. Right there. There's that's stuck. The oil ring is stuck. Now look at that oil ring, won't move at all. Yours are better.
Yeah, first top two are fine.
And your oil ring will move.
Yeah.
My two, this guy's just tighter than a drum. Okay, I can get him out. All right. I don't know. I don't like the oil ring being that stuck. We're gonna... Okay, we're gonna put these up higher. Oh, he's got a copper base gasket.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I have never used a copper base gasket. Always used paper. Interesting. Matter of fact, I'm not sure I've ever seen... I know they exist.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen one.
Not in the wild, anyway.
Not in the wild, yeah. Okay, we're going to put these pistons up higher. We're going to pop the pistons off, take them over to the bench, take a look at these rings, check the clearance of the rings in the slots. We're going to take the rings off and check the end gap inside the cylinders, and take it from there. We'll be back. All right, so we're getting ready to pop the wrist pins out of here. And I was just messing with this. I'm going to see if you can actually hear what I hear when I work with this. Let's see, how do I get this? That background noise is making me crazy. That's somebody working in their yard.
Yep.
Listen to this. Can you hear that? That's just some sort of roughness in there that I don't think should be there. This side, this side's not. Okay, this is rougher. Okay, so we're going to get a wrist pin puller and take these off. We'll be back. Okay, so before I went and got the crank that pulls the pins out, we warmed it up a little bit more, and then I said, actually I think Kevin said, take the clip out on this side and let's hit it this way and see if it comes out any smoother. So we pulled the clip off of this side, and Kevin got on the other side with the punch and Jake Jr., and he looked at it, and it cringed and came out all by itself. And right now he's tapping it out from that side just beautifully, just beautifully. What's interesting, after it started to come, I said, wait a minute, I'm going to hit it from this side again, see if we did something different. And it still would not come out that way. It would go in just so far and quit. So, okay, so now let's carefully mark these pistons as they are. That's right.
And it's actually got right hand on it.
Does it?
Yep. RH.
Oh, good.
Yep.
All right, good. Okay. All right, so let's just, I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I do not know, Captain. I do not know. We're going to play with piston rings and clearances for a couple of minutes. We'll be back. All right, just checking the action of the cam followers. Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. There's no problem there. We took a real good look at the cam faces. They're just clean as a whistle. So the other thing that I noticed here is, let's see if we can get some light through here and take a look inside here. I don't see a lot of cross hatching inside the cylinders. They're lightly cross hatched. Probably enough. Okay, fine. I'm gonna quit messing with this guy other than measuring the clearances. We'll be back. All right, we have the top and second rings out. Top up at the top, second at the second, and the oil control rings are here, and they are just tight as a, I don't know what tight. I mean, they don't want to turn. Kevin, would you hold this one? I'm gonna play with these oil rings here just to, well, they just, I can make them move, but they're really, really, really tight. Now let's take a look at the bevel on this guy, if there is a bevel, and look for a mark. Good, there's a dot. That means that dot goes up, and it was. All right, let's take a look at the top one. There's the dot was up, and that's good. So they're installed correctly. This one over here, there's the dot, that's right. And over here, there's a dot, so that was in, these were installed correctly, okay? This three-piece oil ring, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about that. I'm gonna start measuring some side gaps and see if they're within specs, okay? All right, we're really thrashing here. We're grasping at every straw we can find. Yea, verily, the oil rings are very, very tight. We're going to put them back in there now that we've had a chance to clean them. These rings were tight. We're going to put them back in the pistons and see how they fit once we've cleaned them. Right now, we're checking the end gap on the rings, and we put it in the top of the cylinder like so. Use the piston to push it down about half an inch or so into the bore so that it's nice and flat. Yeah, go down almost to the bottom of the piston ring. Yeah, keep going way down. Down, 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 down. A little more. Right about there. Okay, that's a good place. That makes it level. And in here, now we take the look at the gap. Flashlight, I'll hold it for you. Where's the gap? There's the gap. And measure it with a feeler gauge. I always say 10 to 14. The book says 14 is your outer limit. These are coming up right around 12.
Snug 12, yep.
A snug 12.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat that with a stick.
Mm-mm.
And we have done both of them on the right-hand cylinder, and we're going to do the left-hand cylinder, and I expect to find the same results. Whoever did this work did good work. I got no problem with that.
Nice snug 12.
Nice snug 12.
Yep.
All right. We'll do the second rings, but I know they're going to come out okay. We'll be back. All right. We had markings here, 0.0005, 5 thousandths, and we're confirming that. We got a nice 5 thousandths clearance there on both sides, both cylinders.
Yeah, this is pretty tight.
Make sure you're not cocked here.
Yeah.
That gets cocked.
Yep.
Are you
There.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got 5 in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do the same thing here, holding the piston up a little.
Yep.
Okay. And I always, when I take mine to my machinist, I tell him, I want a sloppy 4. So here's a 4. You're talking. This is a 4.
Nice.
Yeah, and it slides all the way around.
Yep. Yep.
So I like a sloppy 4. These are perfect. I got no problem with them. Okay, so we've checked piston wall to piston skirt to wall. We've checked ring end gap. It's good. The last remaining item is the clearance of the side of the rings to the piston grooves, which should be about 1 thousandths, maybe 1.5 thousandths for the compression rings. So let's take a piston and a ring. We're going to install it and see what the clearance is. Okay, we're going to do that now. Stand by, we'll be back. Okay, let's do an interim recap. First of all, I'm completely convinced that these pistons are perfect for the bike, and they fit the cylinders perfectly, and all the clearances are correct. The side wall clearances are correct. The rings, top and bottom clearances are correct. The ring end gap clearances are correct. So I have no problem with those pistons inside this cylinder. I'm going to clean this head gasket and re-anneal it, so I'll use that. In the meantime, over at the engine, this is not a copper-based gasket. It just looked like it. So I'm going to clean that off, but I'm going to show you something. When you're cleaning the base gasket, first of all, I stuff it all full of rags and paper. Make sure nothing goes down there. Then I take some WD-40 and I saturate those. Saturate the cloths, I saturate the rag, I saturate everything just to make all of that really, really, I don't know, sticky. If any paper falls in there, any metal, anything at all, it's more likely to stick to a wet, oily rag than a dry rag. So I just oil the heck out of it just so that it'll catch any debris that I might cause when I start cleaning off this base gasket. Second thing I'm going to show you is when you're cleaning the base gasket off on any bike at all, taking the studs out really makes it a lot easier. I'm going to have to set the tripod up. I'll be right back. All right, I'll try to stay out of the view. Studs are very seldom ever tight. They just go in there and stop, and then the tightness comes from the nut on top. These are a set of stud removers, and you just put them on here like so. Come on, make it catch, and Do I have the right one? It worked for me. There you go. There. Once it catches, they come right out. I'm going to try a different size. I'll be back. All right, none of those fit. All right, there we go. You can also double nut them if you want. I happen to have these stud removers. They happen to work pretty good. Although right now they're embarrassing me terribly. I don't know why this one is such an odd size. And I'm beginning to say to myself, gee whiz, Frank, maybe it's not worth it. Let me try one more. Oh, that's not going to work. In a minute, I'm going to double nut this thing. There. Okay. That's out. I don't know. That's out. When they work, they work. Come on. When they don't work, they really irritate you. There we go. Yes, sir, Bob. This sure is saving me a lot of time here. All right, now at least you can get this gasket off of here with the using any one of a dozen different tools. Should be able to get this off pretty easily. Don't forget that old saying that I might have made up. The primary purpose of X-Acto knives is to prepare fingers for stitches. This is a hacksaw blade that I sharpened. All right, so all the gasket's off. Now it's a matter of cleaning out all this gasket material. Gasket sealer. There's a lot of different thoughts on base gaskets. People say put them on dry. Some people say put them on with sealer. I put them on with a very thin coat of my favorite Permatex anaerobic. I don't have any problem with that. I've heard that if you put gasket sealer on the base gaskets, that the cylinders will tend to squirm around and maybe leak. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. You know, you can't argue with they say, and they say that it's true. So they say is omnipotent. They say knows everything. And I can only work with my own experience, which is I've had a lot of cylinders off, and I've put a lot of cylinders on, and I have never had a cylinder come back that leaked around the base. And I do use that anaerobic sealer on them, a very light coating. Okay, so I don't know what this stuff is. It's very much like tar. Could be old-fashioned Permatex. My father used that. It turned black. And once you had put something together, boy, that Permatex held for forever, like iron turned into stone. I guess my father was a Permatex man the same way I am. Just different generation and different formulas. All right, that's pretty good for a first draft. Anything that's sticking up, no matter how small, is a potential leak source. If this were a perfect world, engines wouldn't need gaskets, nuts and bolts wouldn't need washers. But it's not. So I look for every little bump that might hold the two pieces of metal apart. And remove the bumps. It looks pretty good. And believe me, it was worth taking the studs out. Trying to get it this clean with the studs in the way, it ends up taking twice as long, even if you have to fight the studs the way I did. Now, talking about studs, let's take all this over here. You got 9 studs, I think. And they're all the same except for these 2 little ones. And this doesn't belong over there. So here we have 4 base studs. They're coarse at the bottom. And I would take these over and clean them. But first, we're going to talk about the nuts that go on them and the nut that's working on them. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm going to show you something. These are your base studs and base nuts. They go around the periphery. These are the two that go in the front. We've got everything we need, and we have this left over. Now, going over here, let's see if I can get you over there. Working with the head, these are the head bolts. These are the two studs that go in the front. There's a stud that goes here, and a stud, this one, that comes through here. This guy has no nut associated with it. These two have nuts that come up from the bottom. They're about that long, and you put them in from the bottom up these holes here. They're not there. So we're missing the two long nuts that stick out so you can tighten them up from way down here. They're missing. They're not there. They go on these. Okay. This guy goes down here, and he doesn't have a stud or nut. There's no nut in here. This leftover nut is a fine thread, and it could go on there. As a matter of fact, it does, but it wasn't on there when we took it apart. There's a stud missing here, and we have a leftover stud, and this, I think, will fit this leftover stud. Let's find out. And yes, so this must have come off of here. And it goes down into here. The problem is, that's a coarse thread, and I can see right down there, that's a fine thread. This thread doesn't match that thread. So if it did come out of here, it was only in about that far. That's how far you can get it before it jams. So I'm going to declare this stud is wrong. Have to order a new one. This stud is missing its nut. Have to order a new one. And the two long bolts, long nuts that go on these two studs are missing. I need to order new ones. At this point in time, there's nothing else for me to do on this part of the bike. So I'm going to leave all this aside while I go put together a parts order to get the long nuts, the nut for this guy, and a new stud for this guy. And the fun just never stops. Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, Kevin got the parts in for a bike he's working on that's been holding up his shop. And I think we're going to go over there tomorrow morning and work on that. I'm going to make this order right now for these parts. We're going to reuse the pistons, put them back in the jugs as soon as we can put the jugs back on the bike, which we can't do because we don't have the right parts. So this bike is going to sit here in suspended animation while tomorrow we work at Kevin's and waiting on parts. Before then, yeah, I have one more thing I can do. Let's get this jug out of the way. Get the head over here. First of all, whatever problem we had with the compression could have been these rings being tight in their rings and in their pistons and jammed up. Could have been. I mean, because they were really growly. I don't know if you remember how growly they were. Okay, but they're nice now, and all the clearances and every single thing about them is correct. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so we're going to reuse all that. That wasn't. If that was our problem, it's fixed because the rings are loose now. On the other hand, the problem for the low compression could have been these, could have been the valves. Okay, so I'm going to pop the valves out of this head and take a look at them. I have the time, I have the tools. That's what I'm going to do next. All right, there have been 3 trains of thought. Start over. There have been 3 main trains of thought on the hard starting of this bike, mostly centered around the fact that we only had between 70 and 90 pounds compression, which theoretically should be enough to start a bike with a fresh rebuild, but nobody will really stand up and accept that other than me. Those who said you got bad piston rings could have been right. we found out that the rings were sort of stuck in those pistons, and they're clean now. They're free now, and all the clearances are right. So the pistons are now out of the equation, and the cylinders uh, are fine too. Pistons fit the cylinders just fine. Thank you very much. Now there are parts missing from the cylinders. We're missing a nut and two long front nuts that hold the head on. Bike should have run. Probably would have blown a head gasket or at least leaked. But anyway, those will be ordered. That leaves us with the second school of thought, which is you've got a stuck valve. I bet I've got 100 comments saying you got a stuck valve. I don't think I have a stuck valve. I've watched the valves go up and down as we've kicked these bikes over, and I think they're just fine. Thank you very much. But that's not going to do it. So I am now going to pull the valves out of this head. And the fun part is to pull these valves out, I have to take the rocker arms out. So that's what I'm going to start with right now. I'm going to pull the rocker arms. All right. Now, win, lose, or draw, having taken this head off, was a good decision because of the missing nuts and bolts. So even if this isn't the fault or the problem, taking the head off was a good choice. This is used to pull the rocker shafts out. If they don't come out smoothly, we'll warm up the head. That surprises me. And okay. Wow. That surprises me. All right. Okay, now that came out rather smoothly, just for the heck of it. I'm going to heat this one up a little bit, just to see what it feels like compared. I mean, they say It's supposed to heat it up. Mm, not that I can notice. All right. Didn't get any harder though. So. Hmm. And this is hot. If anybody's asking, should you keep the same shaft and the same rocker? Well, wouldn't hurt. I don't. Used to. Don't now. Hmm. Okay, fine. Another special tool that's well worth buying. All right, getting ready to pull the valves. All right, we've got all the rockers out, all the rocker bits and pieces, flat washers, spring washers. Let's go over and pull the valves. You know, I tried to think about how long I've had this valve remover. I think I've had it since the 1980s, possibly even the 1970s. It's the best little valve remover ever made. So much better than the new sophisticated ones with the squeezy levers and stuff like that. This thing just freaking works. So I'm going to pop this down here. There we go. They're released. And if these valve keepers are stainless steel, I'm going to be torqued. There is no reason, whoops, to have stainless steel. Oh, Lord. Valve keepers. And they are not magnetic. Ah, people, 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 people. Cut it out. Why do they do this? There's just no sense to it. There is no sense to it. Fancy dancy schmancy parts that just make your life harder. That should come out with a magnet. I'm going to stop this. There's no sense in your watching this. All right, all the valves are out. All the valves are beautiful. These are the exhaust valves. All right, here come the intakes. Okay, guys. For everybody who was sure it was a stuck valve, wrong. All the people who said it's probably your rings could be right, could be right. But I'll tell you what, I don't see any smoking gun in anything I've done so far. So it's 1 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm going to leave this for tomorrow. Put it back together tomorrow. I'm going to go order parts. And the next thing I'm going to do is open up the timing case and see if somebody messed with the timing, engine timing, cam timing. Okay, we be gone. We be done. We be done. We be go for the day. All right, it's 1 o'clock. We've been on the bike. Kevin and I have been on the bike since 8 o'clock this morning, and we've got the engine completely torn apart. The cylinders out, heads off, valves are out of the head, pistons are out of the cylinder, and we have found no smoking gun other than the fact that the rings were pretty well jammed in the pistons. Other than that, all the clearances are good. All the clearances are good. All the valves are good. All the seats are good. All the springs are good. Everything that's about them is good. So at this point in time, we're missing some parts from the head. We're missing the two big bolts that come in from the bottom and front. We're missing a nut that goes on a stud in the back, and we're missing a stud that's in the dead center that goes in from the top. So I'm going to go order those parts. I'm going to put this bike aside right now, and tomorrow Kevin and I are going to have to decide what we're working on. It'll either be the bike at his shop, which is sort of a critical situation, or the next thing I'm going to do while I order these parts for the green bike is I'm going to take the timing cover off. I mean, the bike is sitting right here with the engine hanging out in the wind. There's no reason why I can't have that timing cover off in just a few minutes. So that'll be the next thing I do. I just don't know when I will do it. So anyway, that's the situation.